series. When Jinx comes through as a first pick, we saw OMG run over a game with it in Game 1 versus WE, and they didn't have a lot to say about it. I'm worried for now, WE. They need to make sure that they're not just going to be shoved in by Jinx rockets early, and they won't have Lwandy being kind of controlled on the bot side of the map. Already, this is danger signs for them.
So Rakan locked in. Could lean towards that Zai that stays played, but no, this area going to be a higher priority for them. And NIP already hovering the Ivern. Now, we've talked a lot about the Tristan and Maokai as a combo. Behind the scenes in the LPL, us casters have been talking a bit about the Ivern, whether or not it'll show its face. The AD LeBlanc already played in playoffs, and Ivern works so well with those AD bits.
We had a bit of a laugh yesterday about, of course, IG versus Weibo, where it felt like Weibo, no tree, no win. It felt like that was the case. So we might have to see if there's more arboreal firepower to be put onto the table as well. It's going to be the Tom Kench locked in for Zhuo. I do think that his Tom Kench has been one of his more stable picks. And it really does help with this kind of composition where it's now very obvious what you want to do with this Jinx, right? You are there to be the savior for this Jinx so they can get that first reset. Shanji on Renekton, very comfortable pick for him. Now, I wonder whether Wayward just goes straight towards something like the Rek'Sai for lane pressure. It would make a lot of sense. It's locked in there. It will be there just to nullify the Renekton. In terms of getting a dominant laning phase, Renekton should still get push early on, but once you get towards 1-2 items, Rek'Sai really starts to take over in terms of tankiness.
Yeah, the sustain. Also just the ability to push out those waves. You can kind of trade your health to push the wave and then use that passive to sustain back up again. So just, like you say, nullify is a great word for what Rek'Sai is bringing to that top lane. Now we move towards our bans as we've got top lanes and bot lanes locked in on both sides. Rookie has his Talia removed from that pool, and this Maokai taken away from Heng on the opposite side.
Yeah, I think Heng had a really good couple of games on the Maokai throughout this split as well. The thing about Maokai is there's just a very obvious go button, which is very reliable. You don't have to throw your body into the play as well. You know, you do have something like the Rakan, but even then, the Rakan as a sole source to engage feels much worse than when you have another engager alongside with you. It wouldn't surprise me to see if NIP potentially even lock in something like a Poppy for Aki in the second round. You've already got a lot of dash champions on the other side, and if you're looking for that Rakan Rek'Sai engage, with W you can do very heavy lifting in regards to denying that. So NIP looking towards that Poppy, looking to see what Rookie can do to be another long-range backliner as well. Azir's open, might be a good pick for them.
Yeah, I was about to say, Azir is wide open. FoFo, Rookie both love that pick. Incredibly strong. Control mage works well in these late game fights, which, you know, you've got Jinx top catch on the other side. You're probably leaning towards late game fights here. Looks like that will be the pickup for FoFo. I can't say I'm surprised.
I wonder whether we're going to get ourselves an... Oh, okay, that is different. We have ourselves a Yone for Rookie and a Sejuani locked in for Aki. Now, this is a very OMG 2023 draft. Double melee synergy, AD topside with the Sejuani. Very good ability to early brawl with the Sejuani permafrost passive on that E. Very, very impactful. Now, if W are out of position on topside, they are going to get absolutely smashed by the early damage of NIP.
Yeah, this is a sheer top. I mean, this is like classic drafting, right? From the side of NIP, where you've got Sejuani with 2 melee solo laners, like pure power in the top side of the map. And then you've got Jinx top catch, which is one of the most weak side available weak side lanes that you can think of down in that bottom lane. It does feel like a pretty telegraphed early game from NIP, but it's a strong early game, that's for sure. Heng answering with a Trundle as well to be able to duel a little bit in the early game with the Sejuani.
What that does mean is that you're likely forcing the Sejuani going into phase rush. You don't want to go Aftershock into Trundle, because if you proc your Aftershock and then Trundle ults, you go into negative amounts of armor. It's very bad for you. However, you are now playing around Immobile Jungle into a pretty good heavy CC composition from NIP. The problem with this Trundle is, yes, you deal with the Sejuani, but if you do get caught out, you only have one flash, and you are very likely to get locked up for the Jinx resets. If you get resets now as well on that Jinx, feels like Jinx is kind of queen of the late game once again. We've seen this for a great many years at this point, particularly now with the changes to the passives, being able to stack up through a team fight as well. You cannot let this champion get ahead and get involved. So, very strong early top side from NIP. Need to see whether W can overcome that storm and get themselves into the game.
Can they survive to the late game? It was the story of their series against OMG. It's going to be the story again here for game number 1 against NIP. And looking at that mid lane as well. FoFo bringing out the Azir. It's an absolute classic for him. 60% win rate over 91 games in his career. Whereas Rookie bringing out the Yone. This is only his 6th game ever. But but he's 4-1 on the pick. Every single game has looked great. Let's get into this banger mid lane matchup and game number 1 of our 3rd series of 2024 Spring Playoffs. There's a little rookie Zhuo at the end there. You know, it was a bit of a standoff. I wasn't sure if we were going to get the Zhuos coming on through. I almost lost the standoff, but it came through in the end. Important to mention, Heng managed to clear a ward there. Just get slightly more XP. I don't know how much that really influences things in the jungle. Obviously, if solo laners are able to get that last hit, can get them an advantage. But you can see vision there, so Heng will be spotted on his opening clear. Very aggressive positioning from Photic and Zhuo.
It is. They just want to get themselves a little bit of information to understand whether if they push up early, and you can do as a Jinx, level 1, of course, you have way better wave clear than a Zeri who only has the single target kind of Q. Jinx gets to rocket down the wave. They might look for themselves a strong early trade as, say, and Lwandy come back to lane as well. Doesn't get the tongue lash, though. It's a little bit unfortunate. But now they know that Heng has started on the bot side of the map. They'll be happy to push out this bot wave, knowing that they're not going to just get ganked at level 3.
Just having that range advantage so valuable at level 1. Zhuo and Lwandy begin as they mean to go on here, just immediately go for these trades, but Jinx should be able to get the priority there. One thing about the Yone, obviously, you are going to fall behind a little bit in these first couple of levels. Once your abilities are online, that's when you can start to threaten, but FoFo should have absolute control in the early stages of this mid lane.
And one of the big things that, I'm actually a little bit surprised here that FoFo still went for the fleet footwork in this matchup, because I feel like if you go towards the Conqueror, you can really, really bully out the Yone in the first few levels of the game. We saw Scout last time that Azir was in meta doing that an awful lot, kind of going away from the fleet. Of course, the fleet footwork, very good when you're getting traded on multiple times. You can keep regenning up, but I feel like in the early levels, you get so much value out of this one. Also worth noting that it's not going to be the tank Azir that we have seen sometimes coming through as well. This is going to be fleet footwork into what we assume to be, you know, Nash's and something like a Lichbane or a Liandry's. I'd imagine it's a Liandry's in this game second. So FoFo looking to try to pick up some of that backline DPS that Rookie won't bring out in terms of DPS, but will do in terms of burst. You're looking to play 2 long-range carries compared to the 1 on NIP with Jinx.
And it's going to be down to playmaking. And honestly, I feel like I've been given a Christmas present here to start off the series. Because, you know, I literally came in saying, I want Rookie on carries. I want to see Rookie having agency in this series. It brings the Yone into the mid lane. And I think this is one of the things, you know, this is the conversation of Azir. There's a Reddit thread this morning talking about Azir's back and suddenly he's 85% presence again. Look at this trade from Rookie. Big damage there. I don't mind Azir being in the meta because things like the Akali, things like the Yone kind of get enabled as well by having that matchup into Azir, where assassins can do well into these scaling control mages. So definitely opens up for creativity if players are willing to go for it. Photic using that ghost pretty liberally, honestly.
I think maybe just I was trying to track that trade and I was looking at the minimap instead of looking whether Stay had used his E. If you use the E on Zeri, it means that of course he can't use it to go back over a wall, and it means that Photic can kind of use that early ability to run at people and use the extra range and damage bluntly that Jinx has over that Zeri. But yeah, no, largely I agree. You know, I like Azir as a champion. He's a champion that at least makes plays as an interactive. I do think in terms of drafting, it can kind of make things a bit of a snooze fest because Azir is such a good blind pick, and you just know that it'll fit into most compositions. I mean, whereas if you're picking towards like the Nico, the Karma, or the Ahri, or something like that, you kind of know you're committing to a teamfight identity or something like that, which means that teams have to think a little bit more, and they can't just slam in an Azir and think, oh, it'll be fine. On that level, I'm kind of a little bit annoyed that this champion is just once again permanently here. But either way, glad to see Rookie picking out something and saying, you may have picked the vanilla of the mid lane. He's picking up, I don't know what ice cream flavor Yone would be, but not vanilla.
I mean, he's like rum and raisin. It's not for everyone, but for the people that like it, oh boy, does it hit different. And Rookie's Yone certainly does hit different, that is for sure.
Got the pool party skin as well, you know, he's in the right mood. It's the summer weather. Yeah.
Is it pool party Rek'Sai up top as well? You'd hope so. Bit of jet ski action. looks like first strike going to be kicked off already here by WE. We saw a reset coming out from Photic, so an opportunity there for WE, and they are more than happy to capitalize on that fact, which is pretty big, honestly, considering we know NIP across the course of the split love their first drakes, but with this draft, with the, you know, Tom Kench Jinx bot, not exactly playing for that bot pressure.
So now NIP are getting towards ultimates on the top side of the map, though. WE needs to be very, very careful. Once you get level 6 on Trundle, yes, you can overcome some of that initial burst, but it's not going to be enough to win you a trade. You need to have damage there and available as soon as NIP pull the trigger. So WE, you need to get good vision. You need to understand when Rookie is roaming and what he's going to be doing with those roams, particularly with relation to what Aki and Shanji are doing. Even just walking up like this from Heng, he needs to back off. He needs to be so, so careful, because you do have that melee synergy and the early burst of the Sejuani Yone being very, very dangerous to go up into.
And it's how... Oh, hang on, we've got an all-in on the bottom side. Chompers come out, but pretty much everything misses on both sides, and so nothing comes of it. Again, heavy trades from Rookie in the mid lane. But you're right, the Sejuani CC, such incredibly good setup with these melee solo laners, but also with the Yone specifically, you can layer so much with his ultimate and with his Q3 knock-up on top of everything else. Like, there is a massive CC chain that you can get going there.
One thing which I do want to talk about as well is we do have the Aftershock on Aki, so it's very good when the Trundle doesn't have 6 and doesn't have ultimate, but just be aware that that does exist, that interaction in regards to making Sejuani and Rammus drop to negative armor amounts. It's very funny up until you are in fact the player with the negative armor and you realize you take infinitely more damage. Red buff being started up, Aki is going to spot them. Feels like WE have the first roam on this, so Lwandy out on the map.
Lwandy just get absolutely chunked there by Aki, and Heng forced a flash as well. Good roam from Zhuo and from Rookie. FoFo was still in that mid lane, and so Heng just loses a summoner.
You see that Rookie chose a really good angle there, and now Rookie gets a pretty good trade. Gets himself the E to go and stop on the way. It still takes the damage from the ultimate, so it's pretty much the same trade as it would have been all the same. But see that FoFo starting to get into a really bad lane state here. Because FoFo was trying to push Rookie in so he couldn't roam towards the plate, but didn't finish off the push. Rookie now has the wave kind of frozen outside of his mid lane turret. You can see as the Yone versus the Azir, even on the CS, but now actually starting to threaten to jump beyond the wave. Very much how you'd like to play as someone like the Aurelia. You can do this.
Big damage. I thought that was going to be more, but Lwandy arrives on the scene and Rookie realizes he can't go any further. Sees the opportunity though, and that's what we're talking about. Rookie having a champion that shows off his killer instinct.
Yeah, again, just freezing the wave outside of his turret and saying, okay, you got to put yourself into our position, has led to this entire series of play. Aki doesn't have ult, but Shanji is here. Remember that with the Sejuani, you have really good CC synergy.
Rookie really going aggressive. It doesn't matter if he has such low HP because of that W shield. With the CC chain, you can trade very aggressively, and you see building a minor CS lead at this point. It's only going to get worse as he's now resetting. We'll be able to pick up a little bit more damage, perhaps even a Vamp Scepter. We'll see what first time he's going to go for. It is going to be that Vamp Scepter and a pot coming in, so he can consistently go for these trades.
Yeah, looking towards maybe the Blade first item. Seen a bit of that. I'm actually quite interested to see what Yone build we get out of this, because we have seen some, I mean, obviously stuff like the Infinity Edge, very, very strong on this patch because of the extra 10% crit damage, but a lot of Yone players have been playing for a while, kind of like half tank. You go towards something like an Iceborne Gauntlet and you just become really insufferable because you can't blow up the Yone if he misses engage at that point. He's a much more forgiving champion. So we'll have to track that as it goes through, but still, the Vamp Scepter early in the build for champions like Aurelia and for Yone and Yasuo just means that you can't shove them out of lane, and it's really annoying to kind of push them out of extending laning phases beyond that point.
It certainly is. That sustain, so difficult to deal with. And FoFo, once again, finding it difficult to walk up to these waves. Zhuo has moved in to try and get some vision control, but Lwandy's here to answer and protect that control ward. Now, the second Drake coming up in a minute's time. WE were able to get that first one for themselves, and it was traded for 3 grubs for NIP. I wonder if they'll be able to find a second.
Well, I think NIP are ready to fight now. You have the level 6s, you got the Sejuani. You need to be careful not to give the Trundle huge value in this early game, because of course, again, we talk about the Trundle-Sejuani matchup. Aki has his ult back up, but WE have really good vision control. They've lit up the bot side, but you see that FoFo still in danger. He's having to be babysat in his laning phase so much now, because Rookie is threatening so much from this laning phase. NIP, they're not being able to play around Fog of War, though. It's hard for them to find a true engage.
Lwandy, he's a little cautious. He's trying to wait as long as he can and gets the W onto Zhuo, gets a little bit of sustain. But NIP, like you say, now very willing to posture aggressively, very willing to try and test WE. We expect leads from NIP in these early games. That is kind of the identity that they've shown us over the course of this year. Whether or not they were able to find it, though, is a different question. Lwandy going to be stunned up. There's the chain CC we were talking about. And Lwandy cut down where he stands.
WE had all the vision control in the world, and they still can't get away from the combo of NIP. It's one overstep from Wayward, which means that the full grub take on this second round is not going to come through from Team WE. It's going to be 5 overs out of NIP now, with Heng not being able to contest the remaining 2. Wayward's going to poke his head down to see if maybe he can stop one last one going over. I don't think he'll be able to, but we'll have to keep... Well, what's happening in the topside river? I mean, Wayward is still there. Needs to be a little bit careful. It does seem like it's just been the 5 take pretty cleanly here, though, from NIP. Dragon now being started up by Heng.
Yeah, I'm surprised we didn't look at what was going on with Zhuo and Wayward there, to be honest, but our observer's confident that it wasn't going to lead to anything. They were right at the end. Drake started up, though. Photic's moved over. Stayers on the scene as well. This is a full-on 4v4 at this point. Top laners neither in the area, but Shanji has that TP available. Looks like not going to be willing to pull the trigger, though. And the rocket just a tiny bit too early. So Drake taken by WE in the end.
So if you don't have the Sejuani and Yone ultimates, you understand why NIP don't feel confident taking that fight, particularly against, again, the full array of weapons available from WE. They had all of their ults. That's going to be another backstop. I don't think it's going to lead to anything more beyond that point, but still, NIP get themselves a kill on the board, and that's important for them, particularly because it's a kill over to the Yone, and the Yone getting gold is really nasty. Yone, if he gets ahead of the game, is so different from where Yone is behind, and we just see that Permafrost comes up. This time it's Aki actually doing all of his own stunts and Rookie capitalizing on that one. But it can happen in so many different ways that feels like if any one person is on your screen, you need to be afraid that 2 others are going to fly over the wall at you afterwards.
And I feel like this is a game where Rakan is a champion that's really, really difficult to punish usually. Sejuani's pretty good at punishing that champion. Like, you see there, I don't know if his W was on cooldown to start with, but the fact that Aki just gets the full stun without even needing to Q, without needing to ult first, means that the rest of the follow-up is just too easy for the rest of the team. Like you said, Rookie now with a kill. Scary stuff for the side of WE. They're not too far behind in this early game, just 1,000 gold, but they got the first 2 Drakes, so I think overall, not going to be too worried about how this one started.
Yeah, I think basically the whole way that this game has organized itself has been Rookie is on a pick that can't get out of lane easily, so the whole game plan has shifted around, well, how do we make sure that Rookie can still be in the game and capitalize off his laning phase? Because he's not been looking to push and roam, he's been looking to freeze the wave and take hard trades. But that means that every single other person on the map is going, well, we don't want our Azir to die, well, we want to kill the Azir. On the other side of that, it means that everyone roams back towards this mid lane because Rookie wants to be here. And freezing this lane like this means that he can get some really good value out of this laning phase against that Azir. Does mean, though, that Lwandy and Wayward have had very chill early games. Wayward has got a full Thornmail first item against the triple auto-attackers of NIP. That can potentially be very dangerous as well for NIP if they allow Wayward to get very, very tanky. It's a full AD composition. That's going to be a problem later on.
Again, big damage out from Rookie on these trades. Does take a hefty chunk back, but now finishing off that Blade of the Rune King. Big moment for him. Both AD carries swapping up to this top side of the map as Herald spawns on in. And NIP, they love this Herald. Going for the Heralds has been something that they have kind of specialized in a lot of their early games, and especially when you've got Sejuani and double melee solo laners, you expect to want to go for the Heralds. Stay with a bit of an all-in on the top side, but kind of just getting outranged.
Getting outranged, but he gets the burst of the ult there, which means that he gets a decent amount of Rookie going in. But yeah, this is Thornmail on Wayward. I don't think he cares about this as much.
I don't know. Rookie's still doing a lot of damage. There's the follow-up. Shanji trying to chase, but FoFo saves his top laner. WE in full retreat because that Dominus Croc is scary.
Okay, maybe he does care about it a little bit. Right, one of the big things about Yone is that every other auto attack gives him magic damage instead of physical damage. And his W does half and half of physical and magical as well. So it means that even against the Thornmail, you can do some extra damage which doesn't really get blocked out by that armor. It means that Yone is so difficult to lock out in terms of damage fully on. Still though, going to be some big ults taken away by Wayward, who's now back out onto the map and has of course regen because they're a Rex side. It does mean that Herald going over to WE, despite the fact that the initial pick looked good for NIP.
did, but Photic forced to reset on that top side. He's going to move back down towards that bottom lane. And NIP being challenged in this early game. Yes, they are still a little bit ahead in goal, but with that Herald, if that leads to a tower, it'll pretty much even our game up. With WE getting those first 2 Drakes as well, it's a Hextech Soul. This is a really great start to the series for WE.
It is, and by and large, if an early game is quiet, I favor WE, because when the game is quiet, just look at the mini-map as well. Great red wards across the map. You can see there's even a red ward just outside of the Raptor Pit to see if there's any roams from mid lane into the bot jungle from NIP. WE, think Heng and Lwandy, once they have a quiet early game, are so good at setting up vision across the map to allow them to approach the next fight, to allow them to approach the next phase of the game. It could potentially be very dangerous now for NIP as they've let that go over.
Zhuo's been caught out of position. The ultimate comes out from Heng, but won't be followed up on. The Flame Chompers come on through from Photic, and that AD carry is enough of a threat. They don't want to dive too deep for a Tahm Kench. Towers traded in terms of those tier 1s on the top and the bottom side. Nothing more going to come from it. I'm looking towards where Heng goes on the map with that Herald, but with Drake spawning in 15 seconds, you can just use that mid to get yourself control of River.
So first item Spike means that I think both teams are ready to fight should the opportunity present itself. You can't give a Hextech Salt point over. You can't do that as NIP. I feel like you just got to fight this one now, even if it's not going to be opportune for them. This is going to be potentially a bit of an issue. We've had some questions about NIP's team fighting. Photic getting chunked out early before this, even with the Nice Vow being put onto him now, means that he is not in position to fight. Herald being put down in mid lane, WE with presence in mid lane and the bot jungle. They should be in prime position to take themselves a jungle, unless NIP can find themselves a clutch engage.
There's no way, right? Photic has to reset off of a huge chunk before a fight is even thought about for NIP. Drake started now by WE. Oh, it is Hex Soul, though. So actually, Photic getting back on the map a lot quicker than you'd expect.
He is using the Hexgates, but now Shanji's caught out.
Oh, Shanji, that's not the place to be. Dominus, flash, slice, and dice, but he's electrocuted to death. Stay finding that kill, and NIP forced away. This is a rough early game.
It is, but on the other side, wonderful setup of the map from WE. They've allowed Wayward and Lwandy to get onto the map. The Herald's been put out into the mid lane, and just look how well they're controlling NIP. Now NIP need to fight without a top laner for one of the most important objectives here. What can Rookie do?
He's got to try and find something. NIP really forcing this because FoFo has stayed in the mid lane trying to get that tier 2. Wayward could be the target as Zhuo tries to get onto him, but he just tunnels away. Aki goes back on the Drake, and look at this. The rotation from WE. They trade the 3rd Drake in the game and get a tier 2 instead in the mid lane. That is massive map control acquired.
Yeah, they were the ones that made that decision. Now, the big takeaway from this is that WE chose to give up that dragon for the extra gold in pocket. Now, I don't know if I love that. I think getting towards an early soul point is still so powerful. And when you have a team composition which has been pushing it across the board, you know that the Rek'Sai is happy to take on all comers at this point. You have vision control across the map too while all this is happening. You have the choice of what you go towards. Great pick onto Shanji at first. This is the payoff for getting such good ward control and getting such good control of the map and every lane in it as well. Once Shanji's off the board, very hard to fight that dragon for NIP afterwards. But the big takeaway is now that WE, they are the ones controlling this. NIP, despite the fact that we've praised their early game and their stats and their first bloods and their first heralds, are being controlled heavily.
The question now will be what happens in terms of late game decision making, because I know it's only 19 minutes on the clock, but it does feel like we're already getting close to the late game with the way these two teams are playing. It feels like everyone's grouping up to posture around these objectives, so it's going to be down to split-second decision-making and how well these teams can play the map. Zhuo potentially caught out of position here. Quickness going to be used, and the pillar denies the dive. Stay with another, and the gold onto Zeri is perfect for WE.
Oh, considering how much of a fall-off WE had towards the end of the split, I am so happy to see them playing like this. You know, I thought that NIP would come in as favorites. I thought OMG would come in as favorites, though, in the first round. And WE, in this game at least, are showing that there's more to be said about that. WE, again, really showing what they can do once they have that quieter early game to get all of their ducks in a row, really. It feels like NIP, they have just been controlled. You don't have Rookie roaming across the map. He's played for laning phase, and it hasn't actually ended up leading to that much so far. We're now waiting to see whether NIP can get themselves a clutch team fight somewhere. And that's not necessarily something that they've been specialized in so far in this split.
Certainly not. NIP really being tested here. But the mid game from WE is fantastic to witness, doing such a good job of, like you say, setting up vision around objectives and then punishing when somebody missteps. And we literally came into today talking about, you know, both Zhuo and Shanji at times have been known to misstep, have been known to get caught out of position. Both of them now have been caught out of position in this game. And those have led to the advantages W have built for themselves. 1,000 gold lead, 2 Drakes. Next one not spotting for another couple of minutes, but Baron is on the map, so a big misstep at this point with an Azir and a Zeri on WE's side. That Baron will be gone in seconds.
You see that Aki was just hoping that FoFo would overstep his bounds just there. Aki, he's not really had much ability to influence this game, and I don't really think it's his fault. He's now had to play on complete vision. Again, just look how many wards are on top side. Just before this as well, there was a ward very deep into just the mid lane itself, and Lwandy's replacing that. They've really valued that vision deep in mid lane to see whether someone is walking out of that lane to go respond to a play. And it means that Aki has to walk directly into a lane. And just by process of elimination, I mean, this is a lesson that we learned in Season 4. This was the big lesson that vision control happened around there, which is if you don't see someone on the wards, it means they're in the area where there are no wards, and that means that WE know exactly where NIP are. They're going to start up with the Dragon, they're 2-manning it with the Liandry's, Nash's Azir, and the Trundle. They're checking with the Jinx Rocket. They'll know this is happening, but that's about it.
That was a replay. That was a replay. They've already checked with the Jinx Rocket. It's on cooldown here, which means the WE, they're just going to steal this. It's daylight robbery. It's 21 minutes on the clock, and WE are just taking Baron without any hope of a contest from NIP. Aki is so chunked, Baron taken down, and Aki's gone through a Hex Gate. Oh, this is an absolute disaster for NIP. Aki flies over the wall. He's trying to get an execute at this point. I think that's all he can hope for. I don't think he's going to get away with it, though. Lwandy should be able to get at least an auto in. And Aki, nowhere to go. And that's with Drake spawning in 50 as well.
Oh, normally it's ninjas who do their dirty work in the shadows, but Team WE are showing them how it's done. Perfect map control into a perfectly timed Baron sneak. That puts them in great timing to reset, go towards Dragon, which comes up 50 seconds after they take that. And WE are steamrolling this first game in regards to just control over the entire map and just rolling one objective into the next. NIP, they have like one team fight in them. That's the one problem here now. Maybe in another game you could have thrown a Hail Mary and then still come back for another one. You don't have that now. You have one fight left in you, and it's so hard to find that angle towards it. I mean, this is going to be third Dragon for WE spawning up. Baron will come in afterwards as well for WE to push across the map. What do NIP do?
That's the question. They know they've got to fight. You can see them grouping up, trying to fight for that vision control. There is a ward behind them. It's only FoFo with TP available. I don't know how much you really want Azir on the backline, flanking, to be honest, as Drake started by WE. Stuns come through onto Wayward, but he just tunnels away to the rest of his team. And that's Aki and Shanji both having used their ultimates at this point. NIP, I don't know how you even start a fight. He gets it anyway! Who needs a fight? Aki's got Smite.
Well, that's the start of something for NIP. How do you get into a fight? Well, maybe they can't do that, but they can press their Smite keys pretty damn good. The last one was snuck away. This one not quite so easy for Team WE. They still have themselves huge Baron power play coming through all the same. They're going to push in mid lane and bot lane. The wave clear from NIP's composition isn't great either. They only have the Jinx, which means that WE a bit of difficulty. But now Stay getting caught out.
So Rookie used his ultimate Stay, both of his summoners being used there as well. Not entirely sure what happened for that situation. Photic doesn't have his own ult available, but with Lwandy in the area, Stay's going to be safe to just push that wave in. Shanji trying to clear in the bottom side, but honestly, very difficult for a Renekton to deal with Azir's siege, and this tower will slowly be whittled down. I kind of expected WE to go for a reset. Looks like they might go for that now, but I like that they're putting this pressure on.
Yeah, and you know, they're getting a huge amount of gold in pocket from the Baron power play, plus 3,000 gold up, including the gold from the Baron just before that as well. Really does feel like NIP. Yeah, it was a really good catch out from Rookie, actually. I mean, that could have potentially broken the Baron siege, and you can see that Rookie. You know, we asked Rookie to be on a pick that can influence the game. You know, we didn't want to see him on the Karma, and we were asking for something that could take over the game. I think that WE have done a really good job of never allowing Rookie individual laning phase. We saw for like the 130 seconds or so that he had it, really started pushing FoFo back and got some good moments. But besides that, Rookie has been controlled, and now he's alone on top side.
Q3 just about gets him out of dodge, loses half of his HP, but does survive the play. I love the amount of pressure that WE are putting on in this game, because I really want to point out the fact that this is a scaling composition. We've got a Zeri. Like, there are many teams across the world that will happily just handshake the entire game with this kind of composition and just look for a fight of 40 minutes. WE, basically since the second they felt they had any advantage, have been pushing their vision line forwards and choking NIP out of the game. This is a really nice game from WE.
It is. Now, they need to show that they can close out the game. They did a really good job with the Baron. Of course, they did manage to secure that dragon, which is a bit of a hiccup. And they need to make sure that they can recover from that, because all it takes is, you know, a couple of shutdowns, particularly if Zeri dies, 400 gold shutdown, and then the Azir as well. If you get both those carries, NIP with 5 grub buffs can take a lot of structures across the map. So the job's not done. I ever could throw up that one quote from times past. Job's only half done. But they are in a good position to close out this game all the same. I think particularly Wayward is becoming unkillable. You know, he's going towards 3 items. He has a Titanic Hydra and a Thornmail. He even does significant damage. We're getting towards the point where Wayward can actually just hold Rookie in a 1v1. He might not win the 1v1, but he'll hold him for long enough and take him down to, a third HP if the trade goes long enough. WE feel really, really confident around their individual moments of power. So NIP, they need to take fights probably away from the group now. They need to find a way to go forward. The problem is, if they even take the fight near Lwandy, he has some Mikhails, and that means that suddenly the first target they're going to get cleansed out of, so NIP, their options are really shrinking now.
One of the tough things as well is NIP, a lot of AD within this composition. Very easy to itemize against, and it feels like Photic needs to go for the IE to have that big team fight damage. It just makes Wayward even more invincible to not have that armor penetration available and ready. WE continuing to push, but like you say, it's kind of difficult without that Baron, but it's coming up in 45 seconds. They have pretty much complete control. There are a couple of blue wards scattered around there, but they're getting close to timing out. By the time the Baron's up, I'm not sure those wards will have lasted.
And NIP don't exactly have the presence right now to fully push up into the river. They might be able to get some shallow jungle vision, but that might be just about it. Speaking of that, I think that Zhuo, Rookie, and Aki can now finally get some vision down. It's an important moment for them. W not been able to completely hold the chokehold over them. Big problem here now for NIP is that they can't control both sides of the map, and there is every chance that WE can hold fast on one side, take an objective on the other side. If they just hold around Baron and they send someone down to take the Baron, it feels like they don't really have a great answer towards that either, because they'll be walking over vision if they try and contest either of those sides of the map. So WE, once again, they have NIP in check. It's not checkmate, but it's check right now. NIP needs to find some way to slip the net.
Oh, Zhuo forced the flash. Wayward's on him. The pillar comes down, but they've used their CC a bit too early. It means he can get out with a deep water dive. Photic back out onto the map. We just saw him resetting. He's on 300 CS at 27.5 minutes. I'm assuming IE was finished there, but I'm looking at milk on the bottom of my screen currently instead of those items. I have to assume that was the 3rd item completion.
Yeah, I think that's 3rd item completion, but you don't have Last Whispering yet. Once you get to 4 items, I think Photic might be able to take over. You can see that Wayward, again, takes a lot of damage from Rookie, but it's not enough to kill him. He gets out safely with tunnels. He can teleport back out onto the map. NIP still on their own side of the map. Both objectives are spawned. Stay is taking the dragon like we predicted would happen. WE holding NIP in place while they take one of the objectives. They get that one for free. They don't want to contest with this one if at all possible. And then they'll go right back towards the Baron proper to see if they can finish off this game.
And we get to see another one of the big strengths of this Azir, right? Being able to just slam that tower just forces NIP back even further. Like, because you can have this kind of strength in the Wayward. It's a Void battle! Rek'Sai, the Queen of the Void, up against the Baron itself. I'm not sure this is a 1v1 that Wayward will win. But, back to full HP.
Here it comes!
Now gets a double knock-up for the engage. It's too easy for WE. They just walk forward slowly, and NIP fall to pieces. Immediately they return to the Baron. This is a rinse-repeat situation.
NIP are lucky to not have more deaths in that fight, but it is the jungler going down, and this time it's not going to be a 1v1 between the Queen of the Zersite and the Baron itself. It's going to be the full team issue. NIP, they got one more clutch. What can Rookie do? Nothing.
Yeah, I mean, he's 1v5 in that situation, just trying to make something happen, just trying to do anything. There's nothing he can do. WE, immaculate team play this game.
has been. And you know, again, just really have to reiterate this, NIP are the favored team here. WE, they showed a great series versus OMG, but we were wondering whether they could consistently reproduce this controlled style of gameplay. In this game, at least, they absolutely can. They've not missed a beat. They've had really good uptime on their vision, and they've had very good organization for the way that they're approaching their engages. Coaching staff in the back room, Warhorse, very happy alongside the rest of the team there in the back. WE, I'd be so happy with them too. They're on Soul Point, they have Baron, they've scaled up into Infinity, they have a luxury Zhonya's now into FoFo, so good luck even finding your Yone combo onto him. WE, everything is green lights are go for them.
This Warhorse, much happier than the musical, it has to be said. He's over the moon with how this one is going, and I don't blame him because you're 7, almost 8,000 gold up against NIP as the underdogs, as the round 1 team. WE making me cautiously optimistic about what we could see from them in playoffs. It's only game 1. Got a whole best of 5 ahead of them, but it's a great little stop. Rookie finds the angle. Stay is caught and taken down. Photic getting the resets as he tries to hammer through Wayward's health bar. He dives back into the fight using that ultimate to survive, but he's down. Another reset. The pillar stops Photic charging forwards, and FoFo is scary. Photic, you gotta be cautious. FoFo punishes the misposition, and WE stay on top.
That is as good as it gets for NIP, and I imagine that's all they're going to get in this game. It's a 2-for-1, all things said and done, but with the Jinx down and no tools left for Rookie, WE walk away with a broken base on the side of NIP. It's a bit of a shaky moment there. You can see that Rookie manages to thread the needle, but all the same, WE walk away with an inhibitor, and they'll be still happy with that one. Going back into the replay, you can see that we said, you know, it's hard to catch up FoFo. They have a Mikhail's, they have a Zhonya's for him as well. Mikhail's goes down with the Zhuo ultimate, but after that point, you walk up into the big play from Rookie. FoFo still gets caught even with the Zhonya's involved with them. It means that he can't immediately peel back off of his AD carry, who immediately dies. Problem is, it's still not a clean reset after this point. Photic doesn't outrange completely at this point, and FoFo very much reminds him of that as he comes in for a kill.
Bit of a blunder from Photic at the end there, to be honest. I think they can maybe defend the inhib if he doesn't die. But a huge moment for Rookie. As this Yone finds his moment, but I don't know if he's going to get another golden opportunity like that realistically. Stay is going to be on best behavior from this point on in the game, because if he gets caught out like that again, the fans at home are not going to be happy about it. That's 3 inhibs taken for WE. They are knocking on the door of a 1-0 lead against NIP. This is the 9th seed versus the 5th seed, but WE starting strong, and Aki just sends his ult into Narnia.
Does, and Rookie, he can't find his easy angle. No flash this time. Can't get his easy access onto the backline. NIP really struggling to keep their foot in the door and keep themselves in this game. Huge gold lead for WE. 3 inhibitors down as they keep crushing in towards the base.
The thing is, they don't have Baron, and the supers are a long way away. If you look at the mini-map, the supers, the first set 2, just getting past the tier 1. Rookie tries to make it happen again. That might be enough. Maybe you don't need supers after all. With Rookie going down, knockup comes out onto Shanji. Wayward's kind of low, uses that ultimate to survive, flashes back to the rest of his team. Shanji barely walks away with his own life as Photic gets back on the fountain, but with the Nexus towers down, WE have done it in slow, controlled fashion. They choke out NIP in game 1.
This was textbook demolition from Team WE. We have worried about what happens to WE when they don't have Lwandy and Wayward involved early, when they don't get a quieter early game where they're just happy to set up the way that they want to play around Vision. That wasn't a question which we had to have answered in game 1. NIP, they kind of shook hands in the early game. They tried to play very heavily around mid lane pressure, but then WE just responded by bringing everyone else mid lane. It was a 3v3 in mid lane, and that means that the Azir gets to just be babysat up until a really good point of power at that point, and it feels like NIP, they didn't have the answers right then. Going into the next draft, I wonder if we need to see Rookie not on something like that Yone again. Needs to be on another mage that can just at least roam across the map and get out of lane. This Yone couldn't impact the game because W just threw everything into his lane.
Yeah, just Yone struggles when it's a 3v3 mid lane instead of getting that 1v1. Fantastic game from WE. Great game plan coming out from them. Let's see if they can repeat it in game number 2.